All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and if other people drop in, we'll do that. So today's talk is going to be component lifecycle management. And so typically, not every piece of equipment in a plant is managed for tracking its history through its life cycle. The equipment that we've seen that is typically managed are things like motors, hydraulic cylinders, breakers, safety relief valves, sometimes pumps and gearboxes. A lot of times plants have a program for critical stores. They wanted to make sure that the equipment that's absolutely critical to their production is in stores and it's fit to run. And so sometimes if a piece of equipment has been designated as a critical stores or a critical repairable piece of equipment, it's tracked in Tango. Sometimes CMMSs are set up to track equipment, so your SAP or Maximo could be set up to do that. But quite often, people find that too awkward to use it in SAP, and so then they fall back to using it in Tango. Well, a lot of times they'll try it in SAP, they'll try it with spreadsheets and try to do it with Excel. They find that that's hard to do. And so usually by the time they get to Tango, where the second or third time they've tried it, they're pretty knowledgeable about what they want to do. And it's just a matter of finding a good tool to do it with, and Tango tends to be the one that they come to on that. So let's look at why we want to do equipment tracking. And so to start off with, just producing some very basic measurements of reliability. What are the MTBFs of my motor? What are the MTBF of my hydraulic cylinders or my breakers? In particular, the very large high voltage breakers or safety relief valves. What are the root causes of failure? What are the costs of failure? So what is it costing me to repair or replace this type of equipment over a year or over an interval? The critical spares, what do I own? Where is it? Is it fit to run? I've seen instances where the equipment in the storeroom is some of the most unreliable equipment in the plant because it hasn't been maintained in stores. It hasn't been turned and kept dry and things like that, and so it very quickly fails when it comes out of stores. And so you want to make sure for a critical piece of equipment that it is fit to run when it comes out of the storeroom. What is my inventory of equipment? What equipment do I own? What are the manufacturers? What are the nameplate design information for that equipment? So what is the inventory of equipment that I own for the plant? And as pieces of equipment are scrapped and new pieces of equipment are added, I want to be able to track that, essentially what's being scrapped and what's being added. Equipment documentation. There's manuals. Again, I've been in plants where if I wanted a manual, I go down to a basement library and hunt for hours to try to find the manual for a piece of equipment. So you may want to have the opportunity to put documents associated with a piece of equipment, manuals, service bulletins, installation procedures, various checklists. So there's a number of documents that may be associated with a piece of equipment. Warranty tends to be an area that is not well done at most plants. A lot of times repair vendors or new equipment vendors give you at least a year's warranty. If you're buying an IEEE 481 premium motor, you'll get a 5-year warranty. Again, I've been in plants where they tell me that they have a 5-year warranty and they never send anything back under warranty because they never track when they bought it, when they installed it, and so they don't really know whether their warranty is due if it fails. There's a history, so there's really two histories that you want to develop. One is the history of location. What's been in and out of this location? Why did it fail? What are my root causes of failure at this location? How long is the motor living at that location or a piece of equipment? But also there's a history of each piece of equipment. So for a specific piece of equipment, when's it been repaired? How long has it lived? Why is it failing? And again, we may want to find ways to look at what are my worst performing locations Vendors, I normally have a number of vendors that are repairing any type of equipment. How do I rate those vendors? How do I know what's out for repair, what they've repaired, what I've paid those vendors? And so those are vendor information that all can roll into programming. We can represent the life cycle of a piece of industrial equipment with this chart. You know, with the purchase information, you got the vendor, the warranty, the cost, the design information. It then is typically moves from purchasing into stores. From stores, at some point, it moves into an installed functional location. Again, there's multiple tests and documents that are associated with each one of these steps of stores, installed locations, and in the installed location, you're doing condition testing to make sure that that piece of equipment is in good shape. But once it's deemed to be at its end of life and close to failure, then it's sent to repair, and that process starts again after repair, going back into stores, back into a functional location. So it's not at all uncommon that many pieces of equipment have multiple cycles of install and repair. Sometimes in older plants that run a lot of specialty equipment like European and gearbox and motors and so forth, they just can't find replacements for that older equipment or specialty equipment, so it's repaired for forever. And so it's a good idea to know if any one of those pieces of equipment is giving you poor reliability. At the end of its life, a piece of equipment is scrapped. At our previous discussion, we talked about repair tracker. We talked about scrapping a piece of equipment and doing an autopsy. But even if you are taking a piece of equipment and scrapping it, it's important to know why it failed, so that information can go back into the metrics for that you're producing for that type of equipment. So then you got a lot of reliability analysis that comes from aggregating all this information over a large population of motors or breakers. Let's look at the area of equipment inventory to begin with. So most of you who use Tango have used the condition side of Tango. And so you're familiar with the location structure and putting in condition information against the piece of equipment or against the location that the piece of equipment is installed in. But to do the condition side of Tango, you do not necessarily have to have a piece of equipment installed. So let's look at what happens if you do want to install a piece of equipment. Really, the first thing you want to do is tag that piece of equipment. Here's an old motor. It's got an old tag that says its tag number is 117100. You see that's a deeply stamped tag that's been riveted to that piece of equipment, and it's very readable, even in spite of the fact that the nameplate is not very readable. You want that for a piece of equipment that's likely to last for many, many years. You definitely want something that's going to stay with that piece of equipment even through its overhaul cycles. So we're going to uniquely identify every piece of equipment. Sometimes it's a tag, sometimes we engrave a number on a flange, or there's any number of ways to designate the piece of equipment. But we're going to put what Tango calls a plant tag. So that's independent of the serial number. Typically, it's usually 4, 5, 6 characters. We could use a serial number for that, but we typically don't. Serial numbers are typically 15 to 20 or more characters. When in these stamped nameplates, S's and Z's and 5's all look the same, at least they do to me. And so serial numbers tend to not be a great way to identify a piece of equipment. So also, sometimes you don't even have unique serial numbers. Sometimes all the equipment that's supplied on a day or for a particular purchase order to the plant or whatever all carries the same serial number. So it's not at all uncommon to have multiple pieces of equipment with the same serial number. So then once I've identified the piece of equipment uniquely with a plant tag, I have plant design parameters. And they're going to be things like frame size, manufacturer, power, speed, voltage. These are going to be nameplate. And then there's going to be some other design parameters. These that you see that have the bold field in Tango are required fields. You have to put something in the field, even if it's a NA or a question mark. If it's not a required field, like the bearings or the bars or slots or whatever, then it is, it's your option as to whether you want to put something in there or not. So let's run over to Tango for a minute. I'm going into the to our Schedule Restore 01 database. Most of you know that's the database that we have online that refreshes every night from a master, but you can go in during the day and work with it and try things out. So if we go into the functional location, let's look at functional locations for a minute. Here's one syntax. So we navigated the compressor room, the area called air. 1, 2, and 3 syntax are installed in this area. You see that for one syntax, I've got a motor and a compressor, and they've got this icon with a yellow question mark on it, which means that for Tango's purposes, I'm tracking only the information about that location. So I can put in all my condition information, but I don't know very much about the equipment that's installed at that location because I'm only keeping track of the location. For syntax 2, move this around a little bit here. You see that on my motor and compressor locations, I don't have the yellow question mark anymore. And I've got some numbers out beside motor. So this is telling me that motor, tag number 3210, serial number 601008, so forth, lives at that location. And if I want to know more about that, if I click on the options button, go to equipment actions, equipment definition, I can see that that is a General Dynamics 500 horsepower, 3600 RPM, 460 volt motor with a plant tag of 3210. So somewhere there's a tag on that motor that says 3210, and that's therefore its life. So if I want to know the history of 3210, well, let's do a few other things before we get to the history. On 3210, you see that I've got other things. I could put in bearings, bars, slots, various design parameters, so all that could go in about the motor. I've also got motor documents. So this particular one's got a repair specification, a motor photograph, a motor manual, and a motor wiring diagram. So those are things that are specific to this motor, and they can be put in either as a file or a URL. Now, it's not at all uncommon that if I want a manual for a motor or for a piece of equipment, I'll go to the internet, search for a Siemens, 250 horsepower 258C motor or T motor, and I'll find that manual online and then put it in as a put that manual in as a URL, and so that can be put in as well. So it's not uncommon, at least if you don't have the manual and you want to just bring it in from a website, you can put it in from a URL. If you have that manual or you want to download that manual and keep it in your files, you'll do a file, an upload a file. So that's where you get the documents associated with this piece of equipment. I've got the ability to look at a history. So for this particular motor, tag number 3210, I've got that it was installed from 92 to 97. It was repaired. It was installed again from 97 to 2002. It was repaired and installed in 2002, and it's still installed at that location. Now this is a demo database, so the information's not it's real, but it's been somewhat worked with to make it a good demo. So anyway, if I open a repair, and we talked about this last session with Repair Tracker, I've got repair information that tells me about why it failed. The primary cause of failure was that shorted windings. The root cause of failure was lubrication and greasing the windings, excessive grease, and so forth. So this particular motor had a winding problem. The repair cost was $16,000. The warranty end date was in 2003, so it's well past warranty. And if there were documents, photographs, and so forth, they would be here. Evidently, there aren't any documents for this piece of equipment. So we talked about all putting that information in our last talk a couple weeks ago. Now, how do we put in a piece of equipment? How do we build a piece of equipment to put in a location? How do we put it into a location? Let's go do that. So there is a area down the tree, and this is in your database. Every database has this. So there's an area called equipment. I open up equipment. Let's just do a motor since they're easy and everybody kind of knows about motors. there are lots of different kinds of motors, from base fan, gear motors, induction, synchronous, wound, DC motors of various types, servos and steppers. So lots of types of motors. How do we know about all this? We don't. Our clients are the ones that are experts in the types of equipment. There's hundreds of types of equipment in Tango at this point. And the way the information got into Tango, the client needed it. They defined for us what they wanted as parameters. And so let's take an AC induction motor, the most common of all motors. I'm going to go to equipment, insert equipment definition, so it can show us those definitions. You see I've got frame size, model number, manufacturer, our ID tag, power, serial number, speed. Those are required fields. And then down below that are fields that can be filled out but are optional. If you needed another parameter, let's say you wanted to track something else about a motor and it wasn't here, you would send us an email saying that for AC induction motors or for all motors, I need a certain field added. We would add that. Usually we get that done within a day, and it'll be in your database from then on. So let's build a motor. It's going to be a 445T. It's 5 in there. 445T. Model number 5678. Manufacturer will come from a list, and so I can pick that from the list of manufacturers. And so if this is a Aldor motor, I will select that. If my manufacturer is not in this list, there's a little add button, and so if I click that button, I can add the manufacturer. Now, not all fields have that. Some have been designated as fields you can add, some haven't. That can be set up in your Tango databases, what fields you allow your users to add to and which ones they can't. Our plant, we're going to call this EFP1000. So that's the tag number that's on this motor. Power is going to be 250. Serial number, make up something there. Speed, Tango doesn't really care whether you use synchronous speed or full load speed. I usually like full load speed, but again, it doesn't matter. So we're going to make this 1775. And voltage 460. So in addition, I could add my other information, bearing IDs and full load currents, connection configuration, insulation class, lubricants, and service factors. There's lots of things that I could add there if I wanted to. If I wanted to add a manual or a photograph or anything like that, I can do it again as an upload file or a URL. Let's just browse to a file real quick. I'm going to take a picture of a motor that just happens to be available to me, and we'll call it an engineering drawing. That file type is not real, or the type of is not real important. It's kind of a housekeeping item for Tango. If I want to clean out all the engineering data that's greater than 5 years old or something like that, it'll let me know what areas in the file to work with. So this is, I'm going to give it a description of motor drawing or motor photo. And I'm going to upload that. So now that motor photo is on there, and I can have several. There'll be a carousel if you needed that. So we've got our motor photograph in, and we hit save. So now EFP 1000 has been added. It's a 250 horsepower motor. It's got a photograph and so forth. So again, if we looked at the history at this particular time, we wouldn't see much because there's not much history. Essentially, we know a little bit of, actually we don't know anything at this point. Let's go back one of the things I may want to do is put in purchase information. So let's say the PO number we bought this under, work order, purchase cost $10,000. The day we ordered it, warranty end date. Again, let's just say we give it a year's warranty, so let's increment that by a year. Let's try that again. Go. Delivery date. And any sort of link document, so I have that. I'm going to save it. Because I have to pick a vendor, I forgot to do that. So let's tell it what vendor we have. We bought this from Knoxville. And so now if I go to my history, I'm going to bring it up again, EFP. So I'm doing a search, and so this plant tag, this box at the top, it defaults to the plant tag search. We hit find, and the yellow question mark just means that the state is unknown. We do a history report. You see that now I have purchase information. It was purchased on December 6th and arrived or delivered on December 8th. So now I'm going to take this motor and install it into a functional location, or I can install it in stores. Let's put it in stores. I think that might be an interesting thing to do first. So let's again bring up our equipment definition. The equipment definition page is kind of a navigation page as well. So down at the bottom of the equipment definition page, I've got lots of things I can do. One of the things is transfer equipment. So I'm going to take this piece of equipment and put it into repair. I'm sorry, not into repair. I'm going to put it into general stores. I've got a general stores called Plant. Put it there. It tells me it's under warranty until 2017. So now let's look at the history of that piece of equipment. Now the icon has changed. See the little blue racks indicating it's in stores. And again, let's do our history report. And our history is telling us that it was purchased, it's in stores. Now I'm going to take this piece of equipment and put it into a functional location. So let's just run up the tree and find a functional location that's all right, so in the coal well, there's a motor 4 location. You see it's grayed out. That indicates that there's not a motor in that location right now. I'm just going to use that as a convenient place to put this one. So we're going to transfer this. So there's a couple ways to do this. The one I like, the way to transfer equipment I like best is to come in and select that equipment for install. Go up to the location you want to put it into, motor 4. Install selected equipment. Again, it's going to tell me about the warranty. And it was installed in stores on the 9th. It was removed from stores on the let's make it the 14th. And it was installed into the functional location on the 14th. And so I'm going to hit save this time. And so now in the tree, you see that EFP1000 is now living in the tree at the motor 4 location. And if we do a history, we can get to that history any number of ways. Let's just do it from here. Equipment reports, equipment history, or I could go do a equipment definition. Either one gets us there. Equipment history. A couple more clicks if I do it the way I just went. So you see now I've added another set of information. I purchased it, I put it in stores, now I put it into a functional location, and that functional location, is starting to keep the information about that. Now, if condition things happen to that piece of equipment, and so let's write a condition entry real quick. Equipment, condition management, add a condition entry. The technology will just do vibration. Severity will make it high severity. It's got a bearing problem. Right. And we're going to save that. So now that location would have gone on the integrated condition report. And that's all the conditions out of Tango that you guys are probably well familiar with. If not, we'll do that in another training course. But Tango will accumulate all the condition information. Let's go back to our history report. So now if I open this, you see that there I'm starting to accumulate all the condition things that happen to that motor during that install interval. So each install interval, again, I can see what's happened to that piece of equipment. Roll back. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you put a piece of equipment in the wrong location, you get wrong dates, any number of things. Roll back moves you back. And so I'm not going to do that right now, but rollback would let me go back and undo something I've done. All right, so now just continuing in this same scenario, let's see what pieces of equipment are available for replacements. And I didn't really set this up for exactly that, but let's give it a try. We'll do our equipment definition page again. So I want to find replacements. Again, often in when you're finding replacements, you don't really care what manufacturer it is. I don't really care, and in fact, it's made up a model number. So I'm really going to look for a 445T. I'm going to look for a 250 horsepower. Actually, I may want it something between 250, and I may even be able to accept up to 300. I'm going to give it a range. You see what I did there? And the same thing for the speed. Actually, it set itself up for a speed range between 17 and 1800, and 460 to 480 volts. And so now I'm going to do a search, and let's see what we get. Nope, didn't find very much in that way. 445T, I may just have the wrong horsepower. think I should be able to find some in this database. Yep, all right. So this found several possible replacements to the EFP 1000 that I had. You see that 3334 is there. It's in stores. 3656 is out for repair. 3044 is installed. But all these match pretty closely. Well, they match the search criteria that I put in. You see some of these are 150 horsepower, some are 200. That was a 250 that I put in. That's why it was having problems, is that I defined the horsepower that was outside the frame size probably. So anyway, let's say that I decided I can put in 3334 into this location when I take this one out and send it for repair. So I'm going to take EFP 1000, send it for repair. So EFP 1000, send equipment for repair. It's warning me it's under warranty. That's a good thing to know if I'm having to send it to repair. I'm going to remove it yesterday, and I am going to send it to a particular shop. And we talked about repair tracker and things like that last year. It has the fact that there was a bearing problem. So it carried through the fact that in the condition guide said there was a bearing problem. That information is now going to go to the shop that there was a bearing problem on this piece of equipment. The shop's going to have to deal with that, but at least they know why it's coming to them. It has a bearing problem. Let me hit save. I've got to provide a send on date. We're going to send on the 19th. All right. So, and let's save that. All right. So the tree flashed and blinked, and you see motor 4's now grayed out again. It wants me to make sure I know that the warranty is still active. Yes, I know about that warranty. I said I was going to take 3334 and put it back in there, so let's take it, put that one back in. Look for install. Install selected. Save. All right. So now we've tracked the new piece of equipment back into that location. We've got EFP 1000. That's the one we set up initially. It's out for repair, so the icon's changed again. We go to our history report. Either we're incrementing to the history. We've got used in stores. It was installed into a functional location for 5 days, and now it's out for repair and is waiting for all the repair information to be put in. So that's essentially the mechanism of tracking. You've got a piece of equipment, you've got an inventory of equipment, you decide what's going to go back into that location when you remove something, so you see that it's not trivial. It's not a trivial set of work. And so you don't want to do this for every piece of equipment in the plant. But there are good reasons to do it for large, critical, warranted, repairable equipment. Plants have found that they can affect the reliability and the cost of motor repairs, hydraulic cylinder repairs, breaker repairs. Lots of things justify tracking their life cycle and knowing why they're failing and doing the work to try to make them live longer between overhauls. All right, so let's drop back over to our PowerPoint and catch back up on the slides. So we put in our nameplate, design information. In the inventory, you know, we talked about things like what equipment do we own at the plant, where is it located, what's its history, is it under warranty, what's its condition now, we didn't really look at the search. Let's go back and do that real quick. You know, we did a find replacement search, but I've also got just a general search. If I want to know all of the, let's go back to our AC induction motors. And let's say I want to know all the 445T motors. Sometimes there's T and sometimes there's TS and so forth. So let's just do a 445 asterisk. It catches all those suffixes. And I'm going to do a search. So here are all the 445 frame size motors that are in this database, a whole bunch of them. Now, some of them are installed, some of them are in stores, some of them are out for repair, some of them have a yellow question mark, means that we don't know where it is. Its location has not been designated to Tango. We just know that we own it. So a lot of motors there that are 445Ts. And so I can narrow down my search. I can narrow it down by horsepower. You see some of these are hundreds and some of them are 200s. I can narrow it down by speed range. So there's lots of refinement I could do on the search. So let's do that for a minute. .445T, and so we're going to do 150 to 200. So all those 100s should drop out of our search. But again, you see how that works as far as finding the piece of equipment you're looking for there. So yeah, we have far fewer now that we've bounced out all those hundreds. So we've got mostly 150s and 200s. The motor we send out for repairs in the repair list, and so if we sort this repair list, send date, there's the one we just sent out, EFP 1000. It's out for repair. You know, last time we talked about putting in repair information. I'm not going to really go into that this time, but it's in repair track now, so the repair vendor can work on it. I can also come in here to edit repair findings and put in my repair and failure information here as well. Just jump into that for a second because there's one or two things I want to show you. It's telling me about warranty again. Not going to let me forget about that warranty. Again, it's telling me about the fact that it came into the shop saying it had a bearing problem. The shop is going to tell me that that's a primary failure, and that let's say lack of grease is root cause of failure. That's very important. We want our repair shop to tell us about why it failed. We want them to give us warranty, cost, documents about the repair. And then once we've done that, then you can see that increments again back into the history. We'll put it into stores. We'll send it out to functional locations. So it's a cycle now that we'll go through multiple times. All right, so we've looked at search. We've looked at stores and the fact that Tango can do what we call general stores or specific stores. There's lots of things that you may want to do in stores. You may want to have data on the motor receipt. You may do an incoming test and inspection, or sometimes a piece of equipment goes out with accessories, tacks, brakes, coupling halves, things like that. Did it come back in with all the accessories you sent it out with? Things like that need to be checked. Check that the repair information has been put into Tango when it comes back in. And so there's periodic inspections, tests, rotate the equipment, and then coming out of stores, you designate that you shipped it to a production area. This is just showing you the Tango tree. If I set up a specific store, almost nobody does that. It's more common that you just put a general stores, and that tells Tango it's in stores or it's not in stores. We talked about installation a little bit and the fact that we're keeping track of the condition, we're keeping track of the location history, the equipment history, so forth. And here's a location history report. We didn't do that. We looked at the equipment history a lot. We didn't look at the location history, so let's do this. So let's go to our Motor 4 location. Let's go to location reports, location history. You see this motor has really been in and out. This has had 14 repair cycles. And so starting in 84, tag number 3004 was in, lots of different tag numbers have been. Sometimes they only lasted a few days, sometimes they lasted, this one lasted through almost 3 years, 2.5 years. In a cooling tower, you would expect it to be a pretty hostile location. There's that EFP 1000 that we put in for 5 days. So this is all the things that have happened, to that location over, the last 40 years, it looks like. Or I can pick any one of these and look at the history of that piece of equipment. Look at metrics. And we're about to finish up here. Back into Tango. There is a report that gives you lots of good metrics, and that is the equipment history analysis. So let's run that. You see there's lots of different types of reports. I've got my basic repair and failure analysis, and then I've got some location-based reports, cost-based reports. Let's do this one first for the repairs and types of failures and repairs. So again, this is telling me that AC induction motors have been the biggest set of repairs at 1,340 repairs over the day range. DC shunt motors 500, DC series motors 133. So those are the repairs that have been done in this database. Repair cost, DC shunts. This is a database from aluminum plant. So these big mill motors that cost several $1 million to overhaul are in the DC shunts. And so there's 9.1 million AC induction motors. There's 3.3 million of AC induction motors. So for DC shunts, average repair cost $18,000. AC synchronous $17,000. AC induction motors $2,500 is the average cost of repair. Meantime between failure, an AC induction motor is averaging 732 days, so almost 2 years. Drive-in bearing failures are the top cause of failure. Dirty, grounded, opposite drive-in bearing, unknown or other source, bad bearing housing, shorted windings. So you get the idea of what the types of failures have been for this plant. Vendors, here's the different repair vendors. So Planters has done 616 repairs. National Coil has done 353 repairs. Cost that we paid each vendor, average cost, total cost, how many repairs per month. So you see this database is really active between 81 and 2000. And then repairs, so this is repairs per month, and this is repair cost per month. You see much higher cost back in the 80s than in the 90s in this particular case. All right, I think that we pretty much hit all of the, let's do the cost report, because I like those cost reports. Let's run that for a moment. Equipment history analysis. This is the one we want, so let's give it a try. Nope, this is cost by plant tag. So plant tag 1751 is cost $1 million of repair, life cycle cost. Tag number 1,000, 702,000, so forth. But that wasn't the report I was looking for. Let's try a different one. Repair cost NPVF report, location, history. So try this one. All right, so this is more what I was looking for. This is telling me for the 104 hotline, I've had 1,262 repairs. For the kneeling cranes, I've had 439 repairs. For the 810 preheat, the scalpers, 340, I'm sorry, not repairs, installs. This particular one gives me the MTBF, so the average in the hotline is 670 days. The average in the kneeling crane is 951. And as I drill down, and this report's not letting me drill down for some reason. But as I drill down, I'll be able to get into each individual area or asset or component and look at the number of installs and repairs and things like that. All right. This is a repair analysis, and so this is just telling us that for the 104 hotline, it's had $5.5 million of repairs. And again, if I open that, so this is telling me that the 80-inch strip mill has had 2.6 million in repairs. The 120-inch mills had 1.5 million in repairs. And when I say repairs, what Tango is tracking is the cost of the replacement motor or the cost of the repaired motor. So the cost of the repair or the cost of the replacement. I'm digging into the 80-inch strip mill. You see that I've got an area called main. I've got an area called scratch. Scratch has had 19 repairs. It's got an MTBF of 804 days. And again, if I dig into scratch some more, I've got all my individual locations, 5B, 3B, so forth, how many repairs, what the MTBF has been at those locations. And if I open any one of those, I see the individual repairs. So anyway, lots of good analysis. Really tools for a reliability engineer who's intent on taking a component type like a motor, breaker, and trying to figure out what our root causes of failures are, what our MTBFs are, and how do we make this type of equipment live longer. All right, guys, I think we've really talked through most of the things that I want to talk about. Most of you are probably already doing condition work with your database, and so the equipment tracking side is a good addition. If you're already mature on the condition management side, then getting in the repair tracking, getting in the life cycle tracking for types of equipment, I think is a real good next step for programs. Gives you a lot of ability to track piece of equipment and to track vendors and repairs and how well vendors are performing for you. It gives you the ability to look at types of equipment and see what the life is in terms of MTBF and root cause of failures, and over time how you're affecting that. So lots of good things come out of equipment tracking, but it's hard. Well, I won't say it's hard. I mean, you've got typically on a motor you repair half a dozen motors a month at the most in a lot of plants. So I mean, you're probably not spending more than half an hour or more putting the information in, but you got to do it, and it's not quite as routine as the condition reporting. Any questions? Anything anybody wants to talk about? All right, guys. Well, I'm going to. I'm glad to see that we got a good attendance in, and you're certainly welcome for any more questions. But if not, we're going to end this session.